my coffee. Shut this down. All right. Successful Indie Author 5-Minute Focus, episode 152. When is a subgenre stale? This is talking about right to market and what it takes to deliver to new readership as you're exploring new opportunities. So writing to market, you're writing in that market. How can you tell when a market is stale? It looks sexy, it looks happening, it looks lucrative, but it may be stale. What's that look like? Look at the big authors. The big authors in that genre, when they start changing their covers, that's when you'll know that, ooh, maybe some other things are changing, and they're looking for how to find other readers of that genre or of a different genre, trying to cross over. As you're running your ads, you find you're getting less and less traction unless you bumping your price up. So obscene ad costs, that could be indicative of it's a hot market or that it's oversaturated. You have to be careful which way you look. What do the covers look like? What do the books look like? What does the volume of titles look like going into that genre? So obviously you're researching market, right to market. That means market research. So yeah, it's probably the least sexy thing you can do as an author, but you got to look. Now you're getting to look at the other books that you're trying to get in with. So you got to understand them. You have to read some of them. Read all of them if you can, but usually no. Just enough that you understand what are the tropes, what are the reader expectations for this genre. You dive in, and then when are the readers fed up and had enough? And there's enough material for them. Remember a few years ago, Chris Fox wrote Right to Market, and he highlighted military sci-fi. Well, a lot of people dove into military sci-fi. It became oversaturated. Still lucrative for the very best authors, but watching that, you saw their covers change. They went from super cool spaceship covers to a little bit different, and now they're back to max super cool spaceship covers again. And because a lot of people went in, didn't make money, jumped out, and so it's back. You look at, hey, 5 years ago, who were the big authors? Hey, they're the same ones that are here now. So they never left, changed their covers, tweaked things, added some new titles, added some new series, and they're in and still dominating. That's how you do it. And actually, I've got 2 different mil sci-fi series that I'm working on right now. Yeah, these aren't sitting right today. I don't know why. That's why I keep messing with them. So you have the cycle of reader desire. The same number of readers are still digging military sci-fi, but when there were so many titles, what could they do? Trying to compete for their eyeballs. So people they bailed out. Now they're still looking at those titles saying, yes, I love this stuff. So same but different. That's when you're looking through and you can't find any titles because everything looks the same. That's when you'll see the big authors change their covers, as I talked about earlier. So the cycle of reader desire. Keep the readers, keep that subset of eyeballs active on your stuff. So when does it get stale? Yeah, you can tell, but don't let it be months of bad sales before you realize that, oh my God, I'm in an oversaturated market. Can it get? There's always room for good books, but how do you make your book stand out? That's the challenge that we all work with. So I talk about the lesson of Crocs and a SWOT analysis. Crocs came on the market, dominated. They were in malls. All of a sudden, hey, it was the coolest shoe because they wore differently. And there are some people who wear Crocs as their only footwear to this day. But Crocs, what happened to them? They dove in, they dominated the market. So strengths, the weaknesses, they took care of logistics, opportunities, they were getting in everywhere. Threats. What was the biggest threat to Crocs? They were easy to replicate. So other people come in, instead of paying $100 for a pair of Crocs, you could get a pair for $9.99. And people started buying those, and they're like, oh, these are crap. That's because they weren't Crocs. They didn't fit the same. So, but they were the Crocs style was easily replicable. And that was the biggest threat. And all of a sudden you saw Crocs dive. Well, this is what I'm talking about with like mill sci-fi. In a genre, you'll see a lot of books come in, but they're not the same. They're a little bit different. And if you're first, that's cool. You dominate, you set the standard. Other people will come in and people will write better. What about 50 Shades of Grey? You go back now and you look at that compared to some of the newer titles. The newer billionaire romance are written 100 times better, but E.L. James was first. So there's a benefit of being first. You dive in later, not so much. Now, when you're first, your second, third, fourth books, you look at books now by E.L. James, they're nowhere near the runaway success that 50 Shades was. So there's a benefit to being first. The newer books, they're written well, extremely well, but the market is already saturated in that regard, but there's still opportunity because the readers are looking for that same thrill they felt with the first book. Going back to Crocs, Croc had that best title. What if E.L. James wrote a book that was incomparable to anybody else's and nobody else can meet it? So her second book, and this is Crocs, they came back and said, hey, there are no other shoes like this. And so even though easily replicable and very cheaply replicable, they weren't. So now you see them making a huge comeback because, hey, we make the only Crocs and you're going to dig them. And people do. I don't have any, but that's just a business analysis. Anyway, there you are. How do you know when a subgenre is stale? Watch it closely. All right, people.